All right, Shalom, and welcome to another show, GMS Collage, giving all praises to Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. That's first and foremost. Also, double honors to the elder apostles of GMS who rule well, and also honor and salutations to you other brothers that are out there teaching the word in sincerity and truth, and who are of the hopeful elect. So today's topic is going to be a mixture of things, a mixture of two things. One, I wanted to talk about sedition, and then secondly, I wanted to talk about these coming race riots that are going to happen in the streets of America and around the whole world, for that matter. If you're paying attention, if you're watching, the tensions between races are are slowly but surely increasing. People have disdain, naturally, just by birth, right? People have a disdain for each other. Like, you don't see a lot of Jake hanging with Moab. You don't see a lot of Moab hanging with Esau. People pretty much stick to their own kind because it's just what you know. You stick to what you know. So there's already a level of separation that happens just naturally. But now with this climate, with that the country is in, you now have even more of a likelihood for there to be an all-out race riot that breaks out here in America. All right, so what brought this about was I spoke about this at camp, but I want to touch on it again. But what brought this about was not this past Sunday, but the Sunday before, there were a group of I said Moabites at camp, but it was a mixture of Moab and Ammon and I say Moab and Ammon, meaning Japanese and Chinese, but you had Filipinos out there, you had all kinds of so-called Asian people out there, and they were protesting against this bill that's being passed here in in Massachusetts, I believe it is, H 3361, and basically what the bill is going to require is for all groups that are considered Asian to be classified separately. So instead of a Filipino just saying he's Asian, or instead of a Chinese just saying he's Asian, instead of a Japanese just saying he's Asian, these different tribes, if you will, of Asia have to now be classified as what they are. If you're from China, you have to say you're from China. If you're from Japan, you have to say you're from Japan. And really, that's the basis of it. But they were out there protesting, saying it was discriminatory, it was unconstitutional, it wasn't right for them to develop a law or a system that matter of fact, let me read it. I got this little paper here. Let me read it. I want to read it. It says it is a waste of taxpayers' money implementing a flawed system for a discriminatory policy, right? Which is what the United States government has been doing to Jake since we got over here. Every law, matter of fact, I'll go to this real quick, because every law that has been put in place in these United States have been to keep Jake from succeeding somehow, to keep them from knowing who their power is, to keep them from being civil with one another, to keep them from being fathers in their household, from being mothers in their household. And every law that's created is to disenfranchise our people. So this is not a new thing, and I'll read it here. It says, they have taken crafty counsel against thy people and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. Right? So this matter of fact, and I got another one. So all they've done over history is create laws and create programs and create systems and create different idols and things for us to follow and worship, and to hinder us from being the nation of Israel. This has happened forever. So it's now happening to to Moab, and now it's an issue. Now it's a problem. So I got a video that I'm gonna play. I'm gonna let you see that I recorded. I recorded it while I was out there. I stayed for a few minutes, and I just was, listening to what they were saying. But I recorded it, and you're gonna hear one of the I think it's one of the state representatives. I forget his name, but they'll say his name in the video. But he came out and said that, this bill is to get us separate from each other, to keep us fighting the whites against the blacks and the Asians against this other group or what have you. And it's to start a race riot. And I'm here to say, yeah, it is to start a race riot, and that goes right along with what prophecy's saying. This is another one of those small things that we tend to marginalize, but that have a lot to do with the prophecy that's being brought forth. Race riots are a part of prophecy. Race riots are a part of what's going to happen in these coming times, right? When you have that first wave of the 2/3, they're gonna revolt and fight against the people that they just like in anything. Anytime there's been a verdict that they didn't like, during the Rodney King thing, they rioted. There were race riots in Chicago in the early 1900s. So there's always been race riots with this climate that's going on. I'm gonna read an article too that talks about the climate that we're in, and it being set up perfectly for a race riot. But let me read this real quick. It says, "Woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees." Right. So let's look up the word decrees. Okay. Okay. It says, let me play it real quick.
Strong's H 2711. Chekek.
Right, which is decree, resolve, statute, action, prescribed. Right. So it says here, woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees, so unrighteous statutes, right, and that right grievousness which they have prescribed. So this them putting things into legislation to disenfranchise the people is nothing new. They've been doing it to the nation of Israel since we got over here, or since they've come into power. There's examples in Maccabees where you had Antiochus decree that all the people should be one people. Right, they should leave from their laws and follow the laws of the Greeks. So them writing things into legislation to disenfranchise the people is not a new thing, right? So I wanted to read this article, and matter of fact, is there any more scriptures? Yes, I'll read that scripture as I get into this article. But I'm gonna read this article. I'm gonna hit a scripture or two more, and then I'm gonna play this video for you. And that'll be it. I just wanted to hit this quick point again. Like I said, me personally, I have a tendency to kind of marginalize these little small things, but I told myself I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm not going to allow myself to make light of these little things, things that seem small but mean a great deal as far as prophecy coming to pass. So let me go to this article, right? All right, so this is from the Trumpet. It says here, America, why race riots are inevitable, right? So it says here, some of our leaders are right now igniting the spark that will set America on fire with race riots and civil unrest. So this is from September 8th, 2011. I didn't even realize that, but with saying that, imagine these things that you're gonna hear in this article, and how much more these things have increased since that time. So this is an article that's 6 years old. I didn't realize that, but now when you hear these things are even more likely, because now 2011, who was in office? You had this guy Obama in office, right? So It says some of our leaders are right now igniting the spark that will set America on fire with race riots and civil unrest. So how much more now? Obama was a nice guy, but you got this guy Trump. He speaks for, you know, that lower middle class white man. You know, the guy that wears the hat. It got the hats where it got the mesh in the back and the truck driver hat and the cigar smoking, you know, the gun toting, cigar smoking guys that are in the lower middle class. You got this guy Trump speaking for them, and they're in their glory, man. So how much more would these things that you're gonna read in this article be now when we have a leader as we do now, which is Donald Trump, right? So let me read this. It says most Americans refuse to think seriously about how close this country is to experiencing race riots and large-scale civil unrest, right? So it says we meet all the criteria. Rising unemployment, right? Isn't unemployment higher now than it was in 2011, right? It says overloaded and failing social systems, right? Didn't they just cut off, what was that, DACA? They just cut this was just yesterday. I was watching the news and they said that this DACA was cut off, which is basically a program that was meant to support undocumented immigrants, so to speak, that have come into the country as babies, right? So they just cut that off, right? Oh shit. It says mass discontent and uncertainty, right? And how discontent, let me look up that word. I know what it means, but I'm gonna look it up again. Just for the sake of the show here. Copy. Let's go here. Let's get some Googles going on. Let's see what we got here. Alright. It says lack of contentment, dissatisfaction with one's circumstances. And how much more now, right? How much more in 2017 are people dissatisfied with their circumstances, man? You know, the brother Zion in the Boston camp, he always talks about how the gap between the rich and the poor is widening, right? So with that being said, the poor obviously are going to be more and more discontent with their living circumstances, right? You got pay staying relatively the same, but the cost of living going up, right? So their circumstances are getting worsened by the minute, right? So let's go back here. So mass discontent and uncertainty, right? Loss of faith in leadership, right? Who's the leader? Donald Trump. What are people going around saying? He's not my president, right? So these are all things that lead to what? Race riots, right? A cultural disdain for law and morality. Isn't the alt-right against the left, right? Aren't these things going? I didn't even realize this was such an old article because I was reading it, and it sounded like what's going on now in America. You know, this is a 6-year-old article, but its pertinence is even more its pertinence is even more pertinent than it was then, man. This is even more valid now than when it was written, right? So it says a cultural disdain for law and morality, right? As these problems intensify, right, they're fueling tension, even deep-seated hatred between blacks and whites, rich and poor, and Democrats and Republicans. Right? So, you know, even at a news level, right? You got people like you got your Democrats or your liberals who watch CNN, and then you got your Republicans or your conservatives that watch Fox News. So even in the news that they choose to watch, there is a dissension, right? So it says here, look around. The kindling is set. All that's needed is a lit match. It won't take much either. An incident like the beating of Rodney King in 1991 would do it. Perhaps a policeman unloading his pistol on one of these flash mobs, maybe it'll be a protest that starts small but quickly gets out of hand. Isn't this what happened in what is this in Virginia? Was it Charleston, Virginia? I think it was, if I'm not mistaken. Right? Wasn't that a riot that got out of hand? Wasn't it a racially charged riot? More things like that are gonna be happening, man. You don't think that these so-called white people, these Edomites, these militias are planning for something else? Of course they are. Of course they are. It says it could be a gang beating the wrong person or a fed-up vigilante group taking matters into its own hands. Oh, shit. In the age of cell phone cameras, Twitter, and YouTube, the incident will likely be caught on camera and go viral, transforming it overnight from an isolated event into a national issue. Wow. As grim as that scenario is, it gets worse. A growing contingent of leaders are actively seeking to incite race riots and civil unrest. And Trump is set up to do this, man. And I've always said this, that Trump is going to kick off them race riots, man. He's going to be the catalyst to those race riots. He's made it comfortable for, again, that lower middle class white man to say "fuck you, nigger" again, and then go back to Africa. You know, all of that shit that they were saying in the 40s and the 50s and the 60s, that hateful, you know, Edomite, that, you know, when you look at that book Without Sanctuary and you see those different postcards that they were taking pictures of, where you got, you know, Esau sitting there with his arms crossed, linked up against the pole that they hung a nigger from. You know, that Edomite is making a resurgence, man. And all by the hands and all by the mouth and all by the pomp of Trump. Right? So it says, consider and be sobered. Let's see what else it says here. It says, on Monday, Jimmy Hoffa, president of the labor union, Teamsters, opened for President Obama at a rally in Detroit. We got to keep an eye on the battle that we face, the war on workers. And you see it everywhere. It is the Tea Party. And you know there is only one way to beat and to win that war. The one thing about working people is we like a good fight. You damn right. It says, and you know what? They've got a war. They got a war with us, and there's only going to be one winner. President Obama, this is your army. We are ready to march. Let's take the sons of probably bitches, sons of bitches out and give America back to an America where we belong. So at that time, it was whoever this group was saying this. Now it's you got the alt-right, right, where they go and talk about, you know, this is our country. You know, we're, you know, now you got Esau, right, the so-called white man, feeling disenfranchised in their own kingdom. And then you got, when you see the video I'm going to show you, you got Moab feeling disenfranchised. And here it is, in every major city in America, they got their own town. You don't got white town, you don't got black town, but you damn sure got a Chinatown in every major city. And they feel disenfranchised. So this all of this stuff put together is setting up the environment for a race riot, man. So this sounded a lot like, when I was reading this, it sounded a lot like the scripture. So I want to go to it. It's and I've read this plenty of times before, and I'm sure other brothers have too. But look, this is the time we're in, man. You're gonna start hearing a lot of this stuff over and over. The chip scriptures you're going to start hearing over and over. The race riot scriptures you're going to hear over and over. The sedition scriptures you're going to hear over and over. You're going to hear these scriptures over and over. It's just the time we're in, man. You know? So this is 2nd Ezra, I think it's 15 and 19. Alright, so 2nd Ezra's 15 and 19. It says here, yep, matter of fact, let me go up a little bit. Right, verse 16. Excuse me. It says, for there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another, They shall not regard their kings nor princes. And isn't that happening in this time? The day after the day after Trump was elected into the presidency, you had protests worldwide. Not just here in the United States. You had protests in Paris. You had protests in Egypt. All these cities around the world were protesting against the fact that Trump became president, man. And what were people saying? He's not my president. Here where we are in Boston, so I think he got into office the Tuesday. That next Sunday, there was a march in Boston, and they were talking about Trump ain't the president. You see? So isn't that sedition by definition? Right? Matter of fact, let's look it up. Let's do this. Let's do this right here. It says conduct or speech inciting people to rebel against the authority of a state or monarch. And isn't Trump the authority over the state or monarch that this is, right? So if they're going against the authority, that's sedition. As small as it may seem, there might be a little skirmish here in Boston. There might be a skirmish over there in DC. There might be a skirmish in Virginia, right? But these things are part of prophecy. The prophecy said that this would happen, right? So it says here, for there shall be sedition among men and invading one another, right? They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and their course of their actions shall stand in their power. So they're not going to wait to get permission to revolt and riot. They're gonna take matters into their own hands, in other words, right? A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. For because of their pride the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. You see? And that's talking about race riots, man. A man going against his own neighbor, right? So this is the climate that we're living in, man. This is the time that we're in the time of the Lord Yahweh Shai, of the Lord Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, and we are in. This is His day, man. This is the day of darkness and not light. These are the things that are going to start happening at an alarming rate, man. So that was all I had. I'm going to show you this video of Moab protesting, and just listen for what this guy who's got the mic in his hand, and listen to what he's saying. And again, this is the time we're in, and people aren't going to understand, and it's going to overtake them like a thief in the night, like the scriptures say. All right. So with that, I want to say the Wadi Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai for allowing me to take part in this truth. Also, I want to say double honors to the elder apostles at GMS who rule well, and peace and blessings and salutations to those of the hopeful elect. And with that, I'm going to say shalom.